Hello my dear students, here's again your computer Wunsam, and today I will show you everything about OBS. OBS is short for Open Broadcaster Software, and this is a software that is used for many things, especially for live streaming, for making your own videos, and for making some recordings for your own pleasure. Most of the videos in YouTube or in Twitch or in other famous social media platforms are made in OBS because it's such an amazing tool to make sure that you can create amazing art and amazing videos. How does OBS now work? Here we have, for instance, the so-called D&D screen. There is a so-called window capture function. This is the sources and there are the scenes. Basically the scenes just say what is shown for the moment. If I have this main screen scene, for instance, here, then the video that will be seen from every single viewer is this thing here. What can I do with it? If I click on it, you can see that they are getting some red borders in there, and then I can change the size, making it smaller, making it bigger, and I can even turn it around if I want. But as you can see, I can change it any way I want. I do it back in my preferred option. And now you can see it also looks like this beforehand. You can do this with every single source here. Here in this case I have two sources, the image and the display capture. I can change the size of the image, make it bigger, make it smaller. If there is a striped line here, then you can see that this isn't visible from the monitor. Everything else is, but this striped line isn't. If I again put it a little bit smaller, then I can change it accordingly. The idea behind OBS is that you can use and change and prepare all of your scenes and sources the way you want. So how does it now work with these scenes? Here we have the scenes which are momentarily active. I have main screen, white screen and other screens there. So if I start recording or live streaming and then I change to this scene or to this scene, then it means that the scene we have here is just shown and all of the viewers can see them. To create the scene, we can press on the plus and add a new scene. And then we can choose a scene name. Let's name this test scene. And then we can create a totally new scene. This scene, however, is now fully empty. There is nothing in there. We haven't put anything in it. To put something in it, we need to go to the sources here. Sources are necessary to create the scene we want to have. And in the sources there are multiple possibilities, like audio input, audio output, a browser. A browser is a window which requires an address, for instance. Or an image, we can put an image in there and then can use it for our own scenes. In fact, let's start with the image. Here I can select create new, select this scene and call it a bear, for instance, because this is where we are using Karl-Heinz, or maybe Karl-Heinz. Okay. And now I can choose which image I want to use. In my case I have saved them under a bear. Here there is Karl-Heinz again, and I can use bear center, bear left, bear right, and I can look for it by pressing browse. Okay, I press browse, go to images in German Bilder, and then I can select what image I want to have. Let's start with bear center, okay? And now as you can see, our bear is gigantic. I can again reduce the size, increase the size. I can spin him around the way I want. Now we have a 45-degree bear. And it looks okay in this case, but what I want to do now is add another scene, or another source to be more precisely. Sources, and then select another source I want to use. For instance, if I want to make a video of myself, I can use the video capture device. And then I can select the video capture device, but I don't have one for the moment. Or what I can also use is a screen capture device, or a display capture device. If I press display capture, you can see that there's create new, or we can add an existing. For instance, this display capture adds the existing one here. As you can see, it looks a little bit confusing here because this display capture is way too big. So we need to decrease the size again. Then I can make sure that it looks like this. However, as you have seen, Karl-Heinz is now behind this display capture. And what we can do against it is just press on Karl-Heinz and then put him on the top here. By putting him on the top, we have two possibilities. Either we press the arrow by saying move sources up, or we can just move it by holding the left mouse button down and put it up here. And as you can see, Karl-Heinz is back. As you can see, there are hundreds of different sources. You can use an image. In an image you can also use some GIFs, some animated pictures, or a media source, or any other scene, and you can put them anywhere you want. By using a scene, for instance, you can use the scenes we have created here and then put them in there. This is quite interesting if you look at GDQ or something like this. So, but let's go now to the next part. There's the audio mixer. The audio mixer is necessary to see what the audio does for the moment. The audio has some input and output devices. The input devices are usually the microphone or any other audio device which can record anything. And the output devices are usually the speakers or the headphones which are necessary to hear for the video. We can combine both of them. If we have a desktop audio, for instance a YouTube video or something like this, we can use this for our own video. And this is quite interesting because we can combine our desktop audio with the microphone audio. Now, one important part that you will realize here is that sometimes the sound goes up here into the red part, which means that we need to adjust this a little bit because usually it is the best case to keep the sounds a little bit lower. In the most ideal case, it should be in the part from green to yellow, where it touches yellow just a few times, but it should never enter the red part. However, as you can see, it sometimes even grows red, and sometimes it just gets in the red part, which is both very unfortunate. What we can do against this is just reduce the value of this. And as you can see, even if I speak very loud, you can see that I won't enter the yellow part as often as beforehand. You can also choose to have some other audios by using the audio input capture and the audio output capture. And now we're going to the scene transitions. The scene transitions are necessary to make sure that the videos look good. I will show you what it means. If I change the scene now, you can see that our Karl-Heinz slowly disappears and reappears again. This is because the duration for the fade here is set on 300 milliseconds, which is 0.3 seconds. If I increase it to 3000 and then change the screen, you can see that our Karl-Heinz disappears very slowly. And then if I go back to the test scene, he reappears again. This is the gist behind the scene transition, and we can choose also to have a simple cut in the transition, which means if I change it here, then it just cuts to the next one. However, this doesn't look as elegant as a fade, to be fair. Now to the most exciting part. Here we have now the controls. To start with this, there's start streaming, start recording, and the studio mode. You also can start the virtual camera, however I don't use it as often. Let's start with the start streaming. If I press start streaming, then it creates a connection to my specific account which I used for streaming, and then we live stream our video. So if I start streaming, then I'm connected to my account which is in Twitch, and as long as the live stream is active, everything which is shown here will be streamed. It is the same case if I change the window, or if I go to the D&D screen, and so on and so forth. It's usually used for any streaming platform, and you can even stream your games, you can even stream your websites or something like this. No matter what you want, you can stream this way. This is, by the way, connected to a Twitch account I never use. To see how the streaming works, you can go here into settings, Then the settings will plop up, and then you can go to stream. There you can choose your service, which is Twitch, and then you can connect to any server which is in there. You can also choose another specific streaming website like YouTube, Facebook Live, or WeStream. And then if you're satisfied, you can start your streaming connection. You can also start recording. If I make a video like this here, where I just start recording and change between the scenes, then you will see that all of this will be shown here. Here I can say back to stop recording, and then the scene will be recorded and will be saved in a specific location. To see the location, you can press File and Show Recordings. You will see that there are now some of these recordings. One is finished and two of them are here. This one in the middle is another recording. This is in fact the recording for the video, and this is the video we have made now. If I open it, you can see that the video like will be started, where I just start recording and change between the scenes. Then and as you can see it is just the video we have made beforehand. Here I can say back to stop recording. So if I finish a recording, I will show it again. I start recording here. Go back to the folder with the unfinished things here, and as you can see, there is this second file now. This thing here is now the recording which we are creating at the moment. If I stop recording again, and then we go back to our recordings, and as you can see, this is exactly the same thing we have created beforehand. The next thing is the so-called studio mode. This is a very interesting feature because it allows us to see on the left side and on the right side what we are streaming at the moment. And the amazing thing is there are now two scenes because the program scene, the test scene, is now active and the D&D screen is just hidden. What we can do now is press transition, and then the new scene is the D&D screen, and we are previewing the test scene. We can do this for every single scene here. Here is the programming scene. We can then choose transition, and then we can just finish it off by saying the next scene will be the D&D screen. The studio mode is very interesting because it makes sure that you can create the videos you want. Oh, one last thing for the recording. You also can see in the settings where your recordings are. Therefore you have to press output, and then you can choose what location your recordings will be saved. This is this location here. This is everything about the studio mode. However, I go back from the studio mode because one single feature I wanted to show you with the sources again. If you click on any source, for instance here in display capture or here in display capture, you can reopen the properties by a double click. Then you can choose any format like the display, the capture method, and so on and so forth. And you can do this for every single thing you have here. Here again we have Karl-Heinz. We can change the picture here, and we can do whatever we want with this. And this is everything I want to show you about this, and I can't wait to see what beautiful videos you create. Your Computer Wunsan.